This is Total Coverage on Channel 5 Eyewitness News at 10. Tonight's top story.
You're looking live at a sign of the times in St. Cloud as the big chill forces the governor of Minnesota to shut down all public schools. Good evening. The dangerously low temperatures are prompting emergency action from the governor tonight.
Total coverage of the Arctic blast continues. In a moment, a warning about crossing bridges during the big chill. Plus, your morning commute could be very tough, especially if you park outside. And the cold is making even the most mundane tasks simply miserable.
First, though, Governor Arne Carlson is not taking any chances with children and the bitter cold. He is canceling classes at all public schools in Minnesota tomorrow, K through 12.
The governor joins us now live from the governor's mansion tonight.
Well, good evening, Governor. Thank you for joining us.
Delighted. Thank you.
Obviously, the predicted low temperatures, which could reach historic lows, are motivating your order tonight. What were your main concerns?
Well, obviously, it's the kind of news that saddens our school children.
I don't think so.
No, I'll tell you, it's really as simple as this. The wind chill is frightfully dangerous. We can't have anybody out on the streets for longer than 2-3 minutes at a time, and it's an open invitation to a tragedy. We checked with various superintendents. They felt that it'd be better if we had a uniform closing across the state, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So if the kids will, I'd like to see them study a little bit on Friday. And if they'll do that, then I think we'll have a good weekend and we'll warm up next week.
They'll have time to do some studying at home tomorrow. But, Governor, what about state workers? Will state offices also be closed?
No, everything else is open. We expect to have a full complement tomorrow. But I think the focus was really on the children. I don't want some 8-year-old girl on a street corner suffering from frostbite in the morning. It's really as simple as that. There are going to be problems with the buses. We know that. We're just not going to have our children out on the street. So I want all the kids to stay home and maybe put in some time and catch up on their studies.
Minnesota's a state known for its friendliness, Governor. This might not be a bad idea for people to go check on any elderly neighbors they have tomorrow?
Oh, I think there are a lot of nice things you can do. I think at times we get a little bit uptight about the weather. Once in a while we're going to have this severe weather, and you're right. We can use this as a wonderful time to take care of some other people that are in need.
All right, Governor Arne Carlson, thank you very much for joining us tonight. We do appreciate it, sir.
Well, we're expected to set records from one end of the state to the other tonight.
So let's get right to meteorologist Dave Dahl live in the Weather Center, and we are not kidding, historic proportions.
It is. You know, Chris and Callie, we're already seeing some records fall across the state of Minnesota. Right here in the Twin Cities, we are only 5 degrees away from a record low for the date. That's for overnight tonight, tomorrow morning, 23 below. 28 below is the record low for the date. Wind chill right now stands at 58 below, and it's even colder in some of the outstate areas, already down close to 40 below. Up north, 36 below in Alexandria, 23 below, even in the far southeastern corner of the state, down around Rochester. I do have some great news in the outlook. You're going to want to stick around for that, and I'll have that in just a couple of minutes.
All right, thank you, Dave.
We can use some good news. As we mentioned just a moment ago, Governor Carlson deciding tonight enough is enough. Too cold to risk having students standing outside waiting for a bus.
Channel 5's Randy Meyer is in St. Paul at what will now be a very quiet place in the morning, a school bus garage. Randy, folks out there were prepared to take on the early morning temperatures.
Well, they sure were, and now I'm out waiting for a bus. This sign kind of says it all. Parents and kids, you can stop thinking about school tomorrow. What they do out here, we're at the Rider Lot in St. Paul. They have 200 buses out here. They normally keep them running all night long when it's this cold so that they know they'll be up and running in the morning when kids need to get on the bus. But despite measures like this, the governor, as he said, felt that some of these buses may not have made it to their stops on time, which, of course, would have been extremely dangerous for those kids out there waiting. Unfortunately, you and I have to get out and about tomorrow, and that means braving those elements on four wheels can sometimes be quite a challenge. It's a sight we've all seen before, a stalled car hitched to a tow truck along the interstate. But here's something you don't see too often, a tow truck itself with an engine that just will not turn over.
It's terrible. The cold weather is just killing everybody.
But that cold weather means big business for local rental car agencies, many with just a few cars left on their lots.
Well, the harsh weather has intensified the number of calls that we've received this week. Certainly a lot more people have been involved in accidents in their family vehicles and are looking for somebody that can help them through that tragic situation.
Noelle Deline is one of those people. Someone rear-ended her at a stoplight yesterday, forcing her to get in line for a rental car.
Actually, it wasn't too bad. I just called them yesterday, and they said they could set me up for today, so it wasn't too bad, although they have been very busy. That's what they said.
Cab companies are equally busy. Sometimes it takes hours just to get a call through. And if you get lucky, the waiting game continues.
45 to an hour?
Yeah, we're real busy.
All right, I'll wait.
I've got an hour right now. You gonna wait there?
Okay, well, I'll wait.
How about a visitor?
We'll be about half hour to 35 minutes.
That work for you, sir?
Yes, sir.
All righty, he'll see you there.
Scott Yard dispatches and drives for Rainbow Taxi. He says some waits can last up to 3 hours. Ironically, he says the longer people wait, the happier many are when the ride finally does get there.
The financial rewards are quite large. Can't be more just grateful to have a ride.
But you know what, tomorrow folks might not be quite as generous if they can't get to work on time. A few things you might want to keep in mind tomorrow. If you think you're going to need a cab, make sure you call early and call often, because you know some of those lines are going to be busy. If you park outside tonight, if you're forced to park outside tonight, I know many people are, try not to park facing north. A north wind can make it really tough to start that car. And most of all, keep in mind that it's going to take some time to get going in the morning, to start the car, to warm the car. In case you have frozen locks or a dead battery, start early because it is going to be very cold tomorrow. Chris and Callie, you guys have no excuses because I know when you come in. And that'll be in the afternoon.
After the sun has been up for a while.
All right.
Thank you, Randy.
You bet.
Be sure to tune into a special edition of Eyewitness News at 5:30 tomorrow morning for any new information on private school closings in the state, as well as Wisconsin school closings and any business closings.
Meanwhile, a whole host of weather-related problems in the Twin Cities continues tonight. The State Patrol is urging everyone to slow down across the 35W Mississippi River Bridge. MnDOT says the bridge is sheer ice and neither sand nor salt works in this kind of extreme cold. Frost and black ice are also making things worse. The State Patrol asks all motorists to just take it easy and to not tailgate. And speaking of the traffic, here's a live picture from the traffic management camera system. As you can see, not a lot of cars out on the roads tonight. That's good news. Black ice, though, is forming on many of these roads, and there have been plenty of fender benders to prove it. Roads that were dry during the day may not be at this hour, so take it easy on curves and bridges. These conditions are just nothing to take lightly.
It's a problem year-round, but one we don't focus on as much when it is warmer, because when it is cold, it is easier to see the pollution caused by our car exhaust. Take a look at this video of traffic in downtown Minneapolis tonight. You can easily see the exhaust hang around in the cold air. One reason the pollution levels might be a bit higher in cold weather is we all have a tendency to let our cars warm up a little longer. If they have been sitting outside, that's only natural.
As brutally cold as it is here in the Twin Cities, it is even worse, Chris, outstate. And Channel 5's Bob McNaney spent the evening in Cold Spring and in St. Cloud.
And he joins us live now from St. Cloud. Another chilly night up there.
Words don't even begin to describe what it feels like up here. You know, we spend a lot of time outdoors as reporters, but this is obviously and very, very much colder than we've been seeing all winter long. You can, as Dave zooms in on that thermometer, 38 below is the coldest we've seen up here this evening. Now, there is a warning going out from the natural gas companies in the upper Midwest. They say that there are ample supplies to heat people's homes, but they say that supply is being strained, and they're asking everyone who has natural gas in their homes to please try to conserve. The only way to put it, it is a very painfully cold night up here. One word says it all. The town of Cold Spring could easily be renamed Frozen Spring.
Yeah, it's irritating. I think everyone's pretty frustrated with the cold.
That looks like about the warmest out in Minnesota.
It helps. It helps.
Here in central Minnesota, overnight lows are expected to reach in the neighborhood of 44 below zero. Too cold for this thermometer to even register. Just because your car started this morning doesn't mean it's smooth sailing when you came out of work tonight.
I believe I got a frozen fuel line, and while we were trying to get it rutted, and the fuel line broke loose, and now it's flooded, and I'm changing plugs.
Have you just about had enough of this?
Pretty much so. The worst part about it is it doesn't look like it's going to break for quite a while yet.
You can almost see the cold. Even seconds outdoors can hurt.
No, I've never seen it this cold. I'm a construction worker, and we have had the whole week off. It's just been unbelievably cold.
You know, there are a lot of nights when you walk out the door and you're putting your gloves on as you're walking out the door and zippering up your coat. Forget it. You better be bundled up before you walk outside, because it is just nasty out here. Chris and Kelly?
Good advice. Looks like you're bundled pretty well, but the guy you just interviewed was not.
No, I don't know what he was thinking.
Stay warm, Bob. Thanks a lot.
Bob McNaney reporting live from St. Cloud. The pom-pom is as red as his nose. Because of the cold, these are very critical days for the state's deer population. Near Thief River Falls, some people are trying to prevent the deer from starving to death and from struggling to find food on their own. Folks are lining up to buy sacks of feed, afraid that if they don't do that, too many deer will die in the bitter cold.
I'm really a non-hunter, but I love to watch the deer, and that's the only way we're going to keep them alive.
How many deer are you feeding?
More than 12 tons of feed were distributed, some of it taken by snowmobile out to the fields or also right in some people's backyards, where the deer found the free food fast. More help is coming. The DNR says it will also begin feeding deer in northwest Minnesota next week.
Any animals roaming near Alexandria will need extra protection tonight.
Wind chills are expected to hit 70 to 80 below zero. That also means you probably won't see a lot of people outside either. Well, except with one exception. Reporter Christy Stolhansky joins us live from there. Christy, Alexandria must look like a ghost town tonight.
Well, that's right, Chris. I think I am one of the few people crazy enough to be out on a night like this. I mean, we're all for breaking records up here in greater Minnesota, but this is getting ridiculous. Now, right now, the temperature is 36 below and falling, and that's not counting the 80 below wind chill. Now, folks aren't going very far without a pair of these. Jumper cables are definitely coming in handy. And people who couldn't get their car started had to call one of these. That's right, tow truck companies in town were making the rounds today, not to mention the money. Those waiting for a tow or jump start had to hold out for several hours. Everywhere you went today, you saw folks bundled up. This man had no choice but to be outside. And the kids didn't seem to mind the cold weather either as they headed home this afternoon. But that's probably because they learned earlier today they didn't have to go to school tomorrow. Unfortunately, many of us still have to work tomorrow. Car started. Chris?
All right, thank you very much. We appreciate that. Christy Stolhansky reporting live from Alexandria tonight.
Minnesota's big chill is making headlines even on national television tonight.
In the plains and the Midwest today, record cold, the cold that takes your breath away.
It does do that. Peter Jennings gave us some cold exposure on World News Tonight. He told the country about our deep freeze and the accidents that are being caused by all the black ice.
But as Dave alluded to, we may actually be in for a little bit of a thaw fairly soon.
Dave Dahl has the updated forecast coming up. Also, a Minnesotan is about to get a life-saving gift from across the ocean. And a new camera that Kodak says will revolutionize the way we take pictures.
Plus, we'll show you where two lucky guys found the Winter Carnival medallion, hardly breaking a sweat.
The PhoneGate scandal continues to take its toll on State Senator Florian Chmielewski. The DFL lawmaker faces life-saving surgery tomorrow after suffering a mild heart attack. Today, the longtime senator was to be sentenced for his role in the PhoneGate scandal, but his attorney is arguing that state law allows legislators to avoid court hearings until the 96th session ends. If it's political speech, is it protected? That's what the ACLU is arguing on behalf of the Republican Tad Jude. The American Civil Liberties Union wants a judge to dismiss charges against the former congressional candidate accused of false campaign advertising. Jude was indicted for a campaign ad that claimed Democrat Bill Luther blocked a crime bill. Luther won the election.
It's a quiet night in St. Joseph where friends and relatives of police officer Brian Kleinfelter gather to begin saying goodbye. They started coming in this afternoon for a visitation inside the field house on the College of St. Benedict campus. Also among the mourners, Kleinfelter's colleagues in law enforcement from St. Joseph and its surrounding communities. Officers from counties all around the state are expected to attend Kleinfelter's funeral tomorrow. Services will begin at 1 o'clock, also at the College of St. Benedict, field house, that is, in St. Joseph, and the burial will take place at St. Joseph Cemetery.
1 month after the brutal murder of Ann Dunlap, police still haven't made any arrests. Investigators found Dunlap's body in the trunk of her own car on January 1st. Her husband, Brad Dunlap, claims she went to the Mall of America and never returned home. Ann's own parents have pulled most of the reward fund set up to find their daughter's killer. Last year's murder rate in Minneapolis has gone up again, even though we're well into 1996 now. 11-month-old Sierra Cannon died on December 15th of blunt force injuries to her head. Investigators have now ruled the baby's death a homicide. No suspects in custody.
A local Air Force cadet story is getting results overseas. Brian Bauman was born in South Korea and adopted by a Pine City family. He has leukemia and needs a bone marrow transplant. Brian's sister teaches a gymnastics class today in Shoreview. She is grateful for the incredible support they've received from both countries.
Korean Minister of Defense called forth encouraging 600,000 armed forces of the armed forces to come forth and get tested. That's absolutely amazing.
Tonight, there's word a South Korean soldier is a good match for Brian, but more tests are still needed. Brian's best hope is a blood relative, but none has been found so far.
Well, the treasure hunt in St. Paul is over, and two men now have $3,000 to split. Charles Kester and Eric Taylor, both East Siders, found the medallion at Harriet Island near some picnic tables in a Skull can. Clue number 12 gave it away. There is a downside to this story, though. They could have won $4,000 if only they had purchased a Winter Carnival button for $1.
As you can see, the school watch is now up and running. You can see it there at the bottom of the screen. As you know, all public schools in Minnesota closed. The rest of them, the private schools and those in Wisconsin, you'll have to read. And, of course, the complete list will be available tomorrow morning at 5:30. Will this be a record-setting cold night in Minnesota?
Dave Dahl has the answer up next. Also, if you own a telephone or have cable television, you'll want to hear what happened today in Congress.
Plus the Nixon stamp that's worth more than $16,000. So remember this in August. It'll be kind of fun to look back and brag about where we were here the day that the record was set for the state of Minnesota. For
new record.
Lots
of communities.
Yeah,
around
many
the state,
communities, and here in the Twin Cities, we may have an all-time record low. It is definitely getting cold already. We're very close to the daily record for tomorrow morning. I think we're going to have that. Out there right now, our temperature is falling already through the 20s below zero, and that's almost unheard of this time of the evening. 23 below, 33 below for the dew point, relative humidity at 58%. Barometric pressure very high. We have a huge area of Arctic high pressure building into Minnesota, 30.45, and a northwest wind now at 13. That has picked up, so that's giving us a wind chill now at minus 58. Today's high, 12 below. That is also a record cold high, so we've already had a record cold high for the day, 12 below, 26 below. The current reading, that is also the low so far today. And no precipitation, of course, officially. Sunrise for tomorrow is now at 7:31. And numerous areas are going to see record cold temperatures, not for maybe for the day, but also for all time. And for all time here in the Twin Cities, modern day record, 34 below, set a couple of times. January 22nd, 1936, and January 19th, 1970. We have a shot at that. 28 below is the record for the day. We have a very good shot at that because already temperatures in the mid-30s, below zero up north, 38 below at the Bemidji, 36 below at Alexandria, 23 below right here in the Twin Cities. You couple in the wind and it feels like it's at least 60 below in many spots. Northeastern Minnesota, 66 below over there in Alexandria, 71 below is what it feels like down in Mankato. And here in the Twin Cities, when you couple in the wind, it feels like it's about 57 below. A little bit lighter wind over there in Wisconsin, so their wind chill is not as great. But we're expecting to see those wind chills of 70 to 90 below continue in parts of eastern North Dakota, northwestern Minnesota, 55 to 75 below wind chills throughout much of the rest of our state into Wisconsin. Now, there is some brighter news on the horizon after these 50s for overnight lows, 50s below up in northern Minnesota, 40s for much of the northern part of the state, 30s below down here in the south. We will see a warm-up. Right now, the situation is just like this. The jet stream arcs up. Most of Alaska all week has had temperatures above zero. Well, that's going to change. They're going to get in on some of the cold air. Finally, that jet stream is going to shift a little bit, buckle out there, and bulge up over us, and that means warmer temps by early next week. That's the good news. You'll see that in the outlook. My Weather Center 5 forecast for overnight tonight is a dangerously cold one. Dangerously cold wind chills, 50 to 75 below. A record for the day at 32 below. We could get close to the all-time record of 34 below. Then for tomorrow morning, waking up, ice fog, dangerous wind chills, 32 below. In the afternoon, going up to about 12 below, and that could be another record cold high. The wind will diminish as the day goes on. Looks like we'll have a light wind tomorrow night. That could set us up for another record cold night, 32 below for tomorrow night. But, man, look at that, 26 by Tuesday, and we could even have a temp close to that thawing point at 32 on Wednesday. So there's definitely some good news.
As soon as you get rid of those little minus signs, you will feel the difference.
That should happen on Sunday.
Okay. Thanks, Dave. In America tonight, a spectacular train derailment continues to cause major problems in the Cajon Pass in California. Flames burning from tank cars are sending hazardous clouds of poisonous smoke into the air. At this hour, Interstate 15 is still closed in both directions. Two of the train's crew members are still missing. Grizzly Adams' friend of the wilderness is dead tonight. Susie the bear died this week of breast cancer. She was 25 years old. Besides the hit TV series, Susie appeared in more than 100 movies. A man who adopted her says Susie was the kindest being he'd ever known.
The actress best known for her role as Alice on The Honeymooners is gravely ill tonight. Audrey Meadows played the caustic but tender-hearted wife to Jackie Gleason's Ralph Cramden.
Around this house? Believe me, those pants would fit around this house.
Meadows starred on the show from 1952 to 1957. Appeared in various TV roles since. The 71-year-old actress was admitted to a Los Angeles hospital last week with terminal cancer. Not even family members knew the seriousness of her disease. You and I are about to enter a new era of communication tonight. Congress overwhelmingly approved the most sweeping rewrite of the telecommunications law in 62 years. This new bill allows greater competition for local and long-distance phone companies and cable TV companies. It also deregulates cable rates and restricts smutty material on TV and computer networks. Opponents say the bill does more for big business than for consumers.
There's a new revolution in the way we take pictures tonight. Introducing the Advanced Photo System, or APS. This is designed to eliminate common mistakes. This camera threads the film for you, and you also have 3 different size and layouts of pictures to choose from. However, this new format has its disadvantages. Photo companies will need to buy new processing equipment.
Depending on the extent that we get involved in it, it's going to require somewhere between $15,000 and $35,000 for a company our size.
Another downside, the new film and cameras cost about 15% more than you're paying now. You don't have to take a close look at this stamp to see there is something very wrong. It's a misprinted Richard Nixon commemorative stamp, and it shows the former president's image split. But that's very good news for at least one investor. At a special auction in New York, the misprint sold for $16,000.
Now for a story with a real kick, punch, and a few jabs. That's 7-year-old Stephen Belushi, and guess what? He has a black belt. That's right, he got it this week. As you can see, he's even got a taste for tumbling. Stephen started karate when he was 4, and of course he likes the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I like the flips, the fancy kicks, and the fighting they did, and that's all.
Stephen hopes to grow up to be either a karate or gymnastics teacher.
He's well on the way to doing very well at that.
Another NFL team, believe it or not, may be on the move.
That story coming up in sports. Also, a special night for one of the Twin Cities' longest-running coaching acts. And we'll show you some incredible skiing where the powder is almost perfect. Really an end of an era in high school wrestling.
A longtime coach finally hanging it up.
And he's more proud of the kids that graduate and move on to things than he is of just sending champions to state. When he wrestled in high school, he spent a lot of time looking at the lights. In other words, he got pinned a lot. But as a coach, Dick Chicolis had a lot of kids looking up, too, looking up to him. Dick Chicolis has been the wrestling coach at Minneapolis North for the past 31 years. Tonight was his last home meet. He is retiring. Well, he also has had some great wrestlers like Aaron Sanders. Sanders is a young man who was shot earlier this year and is now looking like a potential state champ. The coach said, it's been a fun ride.
Well, it's been a fun time. I've been able to work with a lot of really fine young men, and that's really great for wrestling. And I've also been doing track, you know, and cross country, so I've really been blessed to be able to do something you like to do and still get paid for it. That's really great.
Chicolis went out a winner tonight. North beat South 63-9. Today was a day to recognize women's athletics in the nation. In Washington, Billie Jean King and Pam Shriver led over 250 athletes on a march of support to mark the day and to lobby Congress to enforce Title IX. Back home, Meet the Challenge was the slogan for a rally at the state capitol. This was one of the biggest celebrations of the day in the nation. Here's a scary thought. The Minnesota Vikings might play in the Rose Bowl before the Minnesota Gophers. That's because the Seattle Seahawks intend to move to Pasadena. The Seahawks say the Kingdome is in such rough shape that it will cost $200 million to repair, so they want out, and they've made a deal with the Rose Bowl. The Rose Bowl would probably only be used for a couple of seasons. Seattle played in the Kingdome for the past 20 years. Next season, as many as 5 teams could have new homes. Cleveland and Houston are scheduled to move. Tampa and Arizona have both talked about it. The Pro Bowl isn't moving. It's staying in Hawaii. Number one, they're warming up with the NFC team at the Pro Bowl. He's one of 4 Vikings who will play in the game on Sunday. The Pro Bowl will be seen right here on Channel 5 starting at 5 o'clock on Sunday. NBA tonight. 2 of the top teams in the league with 2 top centers met in New York. Shaq, Magic, and Ewing and the Knicks. In the first half, Ewing was unstoppable. He scored 23 points as the Knicks pulled out to a big lead on Magic. However, Ewing proceeded to miss 15 straight shots in the second half, but New York still won it 110-102. Orlando 9-13 on the road. We'll show you some skiing heaven when we return. On a bitterly cold night full of minus signs, how about a warm weather sport with minus signs? Golf. It's the Pebble Beach Pro-Am, and although Jack Lemmon had to miss the tournament this year, well represented as his son Chris lined up a putt today. Meanwhile, the Rhinestone Cowboy was putting more like the lineman. Glenn Campbell missed a gimme that nobody gave him. Justin Leonard and John Elliott lead the tournament at -5. In Minnesota, the most overused greeting this week is, cold enough for you? Well, in Vail, Colorado, the greeting is, got enough snow for you? Take a look at the powder snow they have at Vail this week. They have received 20 inches of snow in the past 24 hours, making ski conditions out of this world for people who have pleasure in powder. We've received 166 inches of snow this year, and that is some incredible skiing.
You can barely even see the skis.
You're scared.
Fall down, you lose your ski in a hurry there.
That's true, and your poles too. Thanks. Well, when we return, we'll have one more look at tomorrow's Daily Planet.